Welcome to the third section of our course. In this section, we're going to be concentrating on actions within application development. And one of the actions we're going to focus on in this lecture is the ability to toggle stuff on and off. Now, how we can toggle stuff on and off is by using UI switches. Now, if I go to the main.storyboard, let's change the interface to an iPhone screen. Switches have two states. They have an on and then they have an off state. So this means they can perform two actions. The actions they perform is entirely up to you. It all depends on the state of the button. So what we're going to do is have a button here, or a switch, and it's going to be able to toggle and perform two things, or two tasks. The first thing it's going to do is change the text within our label. So by doing that, can simply say our switch is on and then our switch is off. That's basically what it's going to do. We're also going to have a second kind of action that it's going to perform, as well as changing the text, and that's to enable and disable our button. Now, by performing these tasked actions, kind of gives you a kind of understanding of what you can do with a UI switch and what you can use them for. Now, they're very heavily used in applications for the settings. You would have seen them on your own device's settings, whether you want to toggle on and off your Wi-Fi, maybe you want to toggle on and off the silent of your phone, or anything like that. That's basically what they do. And even in games, it's stuff like toggle on and off the sound effects. So it's entirely what you do with them. It's just a brilliant function to have in, and with the design of them, it's very native for the user to use them. Okay, so we've got these objects in. We're going to bring up our assistant editor. We're going to change it to the viewcontroller.h. And what we're going to do is create some actions and outlets. The first outlet we're going to create is for our label. I'll simply name this label. This is so we can change the text from within the label. We're going to create an outlet for our button. Again, so we can toggle and toggle off the enabled feature of our button. So I'll just name this button. And then we're going to need to create an outlet for our switch. Now, the reason we need an outlet for our switch is because we need to define what state it's in. So if I just name this switch button, there we go. So when we press our switch, we go, if our switch button is on the off state, then perform this action. Else, if it's in the off state, perform this action. So we only need to create one action for our switch, which we create right now. And I'll simply name this simply the switch, nice and easy, and make sure that's on action and connect that up. Okay, so we've done that. We can now close our assistant editor and go back to our standard editor and jump straight into our viewcontroller.h. Okay, so as I talked before then, if our switch is in this state, then do this, else if it's in a different state, do this. And that's performed by if statements. So we've used these before. All we talk about is if. And in the condition, we do self dot the name of our switch, which we called it switch button, dot on. Now, if it is on, then perform this task. So the task we're going to get to perform is our self dot label dot text is going to equal the switch is on, and then with semicolon, and then it's going to get our self dot button dot enabled to equal yes. So the switch is going to be on, that's what it's going to say in the text, and our button is going to be enabled. Now, when the switch is off, we want it to perform the opposite features. So within our switch if statement here, we have if the switch is on, perform this. Then we do after our parentheses curly bracket at the end, else. Let me create a parentheses and enter. The only other option after is off for the switch. So if we copy this and paste it in there and change what it says in the text to off and change the state, what it's equal to here, to no. So if the switch is on, say in the label the switch is on and make the button enabled, else, now the only other option apart from being on for the switch is being off. So that's what performs in this parentheses brackets here. The switch is off and the button enabled no. Now, as we build it and run, it's also going to make our labels default. Everything's going to be default as it is, because it's not reading from anywhere else. It's only when we interact with our button or our switch that these actions perform. So what we're going to do is copy this, and if I paste it within our view did load, now the only thing that's going to change is our label. As the switch is already on and our button's already enabled, it's just the label that's going to change, but you can see this change when our view loads. But there you can see our label has changed. It's not until we turn it off that the text changes and it disables our button, meaning we can no longer use it. So we get a visual confirmation in the label about what's happening, and then by toggling off our switch, it's turned the ability to press our button off, very much like how the switches would do in the settings of applications. They would disable a certain part of the application if it's toggled off. And then to re-enable it, we can press the switch and turn it back on, which says the switch is on. The button is now re-enabled until we turn it off again and we can't press with it. So that's simply how you would use your switch within your applications. A great ability to add into control features within the application and toggle stuff on and off at your own users' kind of will and how they want to run the application. In the next lecture, we start to talk about UI segmented controls.